So things that you hear around this discussion, ROGD, rapid onset gender dysphoria, and social contagion. I've heard Stephanie Wynn talk about these type of things. How do you see these as factoring in?
Yeah, that term came about, I think, in 2018 by a woman named Lisa Littman, who did some research on this topic. And she found there was this cohort of girls that never showed any signs of gender distress their entire childhood until they spent a lot of time on the internet and came out of that with this new identity. That's the trend. So the rapid onset gender dysphoria is a rapid onset because it just wasn't a thing before. And when we thought about this traditionally in the past, usually the feelings would start around the age when a kid was around 5 or 6. Usually it was young boys. And I mean, we could think about why that was that way then and why it's girls now. Yeah, it's a different situation because it is much more, I'd say, of a social contagion, which is not politically correct to say in some circles.
Yeah. I mean, the narrative is that this is their true self, and the only thing you should be doing is affirming them.
Yeah.
And in my grad program, there are no underlying issues. This is the issue. There's no trauma, there's no co-occurring mental health issues that matter. The root issue is the gender issue that can only be treated by gender affirming care. And you look at like the WPATH files, they're pumping full of hormones, kids, they're like borderline psychotic.
Mhm.
What are you seeing? I mean, do you think this is driven by some kind of underlying issues? You talked about trauma a second ago.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's so I think we agree on this, but we think it the opposite of what someone who believes in transgender would think. So they would say the trauma or the symptoms, the cutting, the self-harm, maybe the eating disorders, all of those presentations, all those symptoms are happening because they're not being affirmed properly. And once we give them all of these hormones and everybody in the entire planet tells them that they're the identity that they say they are, then all of those symptoms will go away. So their mental being is dependent upon the external world, which is a recipe for disaster, right? But that's what they say will fix them. And of course, they never get fixed because there's always somebody, even if it's just someone at the checkout counter at a store that just looks at them wrong, then they're not affirmed properly. And so then they're always going to have this distress. So they kind of set it up that way.